Good morning all, it is Wednesday the 20th of December 2023. You're watching Morning Brew on Labour Social and I'm Graham Hughes. Welcome. So today we're going to go dive straight into the war. The war that's going on, not in Gaza, not in Ukraine. No, the war that's going on in the Tory party as Michelle Mone has fully just unleashed the dogs of war on the Tory party as essentially a Twitter spat, which could grow into something a lot larger. So this revolves around the fact that, oh God, do you know what? This is tremendously unprofessional of me, but I've forgotten whose tweet she was replying to. So I'm just going to find out because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And then I think it was Lord Crothers. Was it? It was some bloody Lord. So Michelle Mone, at Michelle Mone, I think that's her official thing. Lord Bethel. So essentially what happened was Lord Bethel tweeted yesterday. Michelle Mone she actually tweeted on Monday, wasn't honest about her financial interest to me. This is about Michelle Mone being married to the guy who founded PPE MedPro literally the day before they put in a massive order into the government. Sorry, an order, tender into the government to say, hey, we will supply you with lots of PPE. It'll be amazing. It'll be wonderful. Ha ha ha. Lord Bethel, yeah. Essentially, he's put up a WhatsApp message, right? Which said, essentially explaining that Michelle Mone wasn't being honest about her financial interest to me. She didn't explain it from the very beginning about her financial involvement. Her message below is typical. Now her message says, hi James, great speaking to you yesterday. As you know, every country has different requirements. The team at PPE MedPro have asked for information on what the criteria is for the UK COVID test kits in terms of safety and quality. Then they will email you the relevant documentation along with the certificates. The manufacturing capacity at the moment is 15 million kits per day. That's not an actual manufacturing thing that PPE MedPro were doing. PPE MedPro, e.g. her husband's company, were just literally making an order. So, you know, they made £60 million through making a phone call, because that's really working for your money. £60 million of profit, phone call. Hey, can I order some PPE? I've got some money from the taxpayers to pay for it. And a massive 30%, 33% cut for ourselves. Ha ha ha, we're so clever. Anyway, so 60 million, 63 million, I think. So then, Michelle Mone shot back. Hi, at Jim Bethel. You seem to have mysteriously discovered your text messages from 2020. Now you finally found them. Will you be sending them all to the COVID inquiry? Popcorn emoji. Oh, it's all kicking off in the Tory party. So this has real serious implications because it looks like Michelle Mone is intent on taking the Tory party down with her, which is great. Someone pointed out today that if she was given the same punishment as someone who claimed £9,000 over what they should have got through their benefits, she would have to pay all of the money back to the government, all 200 odd million pounds. Plus she would have to do community service for 27,000 years. Sounds about right. She wants to take them all down. Now, from Mone to Bone. Ha, see what I did there? Piece of bone. It was, he's been hit by a recall petition signed by over 13% of his constituents, so he's out of here. He's not an MP anymore. He was around long enough, just about long enough, to manage to vote for the Rwanda bill that said Rwanda is a safe country. You love that. You just make a bill. The moon is made of cheese. We made a bill. It must be so. The sun goes around the earth. We made a bill. It must be so. But that's not the big news this morning. I mean, obviously, our domestic politics are what we mainly focus on Labour Social, but Trump. So, if you haven't already read the news or perused it before you get tuned in this morning, the Supreme Court of Colorado has declared by a 5-4 majority that as Trump was involved in an insurrection, on January the 6th, 2021, he's not eligible to stand for president in their state. So he won't be on the paper. Here's the interesting thing. So this is going to go to the Supreme Court, which is a 6-3 court. It's a 9-person court, 6-3, stacked with ultra-conservatives. So there's a good chance that this will get to the Supreme Court, and then they will declare that it's okay for Trump to be an insurrectionist and also run for office. High office, the highest office in the land, the highest office arguably in the world. You know, it's always fun when Americans celebrate the deaths of police officers in the line of duty. I guess people on the right think that's okay and acceptable. I don't. I think that anyone who encouraged a mob to go out and kill police officers should face justice. But there are millions of Americans who think that's the right thing to do. That's a good thing you did, Anthony. That's a good thing you did. They're scared of Trump, or I don't know, they've got some weird sexual thing going on. There's a lot of weirdos in America. However, if this goes to the Supreme Court of the federal Supreme Court of America, which I think it will, they have to decide whether to uphold it or whether to reject it. If they reject it, okay, Trump's on the ballot everywhere. If they uphold it, he doesn't get knocked off, just get knocked off the ballot in Colorado. He'll get knocked off the ballot in every state in America, i.e. he will not be on the ballot. And Chris Christie yesterday, he said, but it shouldn't be up to the court to decide who stands, it should be up to the people. And I'm like, well, you could argue that, but then I think that what a woman does with her own body should be up to the woman in question, not up to a court. But that's the system you've got. And why is it different for the rich? Why is it that Michelle Mone, if that money that she stole from the taxpayer had come from over, taking £47 a week more than she should have done, she would have to pay back every penny and do community service? Why does she get away with it just because she's rich? Why does Trump get away with it just because he's rich? I don't think they should. But talking of Trump not getting away with things, a judge has ordered the Epstein list of 170 individuals to be released next month. This will be interesting. That you've got till if anyone's watching this and thinks they might be on that list, you've got till January the 1st to lodge an appeal to explain why your name should not be released. Otherwise, those names are getting released and Trump's name will be on that list. I can't completely guarantee it, but come on. Along with Prince Andrew and probably Bill Clinton and probably a lot of other people in the public eye who you would think, they're wrong. And that's the sort of thing they would do. But Prince Andrew, if you had done what Prince Andrew did, you would have gone to jail. He didn't. He got his mum to pay off the money that he, to shut up the plaintiff, and he carried on his royal duties to some extent, making money, not having to do anything, not having to get a proper job. He should be working for his money, preferably in a Pizza Express in Woking. That'll be good. Cleaning tables. So, So we got Moan, we got Bone, we got Trump, we got Epstein. The other thing that's come out yesterday, Miriam Cates. God, there's so much stuff going on. Miriam Cates. Has anyone ever seen Pete Davidson, the American comedian, and Miriam Cates in a room at the same time? No? I don't think so. Just saying. Anyway, it looks like she's done something very naughty. So naughty, they can't even tell us how naughty it is because it might go to a criminal trial. So that's interesting. So that's another Tory by-election for next year. They're looking into it. But I mean, from the war drums, from the grapevine, from the people who talk about stuff. Graham, did Andrew go to private school? Of course he did. They all did. Actually, the Queen didn't. She was taught at home, Queen. But King Charles went to Gloucester. She didn't enjoy because it was horrible. And his dad went to Gloucester as well, which is a very bleak Scottish school where they teach you how to be men. Anyway, so Miriam Kate's in a lot of trouble. And to circle back to the whole thing about the WhatsApp messages going missing, being deleted, Penny Mordaunt went on the record to say, a load of messages from Boris Johnson literally disappeared from my phone. They were there one day, and then I was looking for this message that I sent on the 29th of February 2020 because it was to do with nursing homes. And Penny Mordaunt says they just disappeared off her phone. As though someone put an order in to delete them all. Because he didn't want people finding out what they were up to. So Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, had their messages deleted somehow, magically. And neither of them can recall anything that happened during that period of time. They should all be in jail. They should all be in bloody jail. If it was you or me, we'll be in jail for doing exactly the same thing. We can't go on having a two-tier justice system where you are guilty until proven rich. It is not right. It is not fair. It is not equitable. It is the worst possible situation that you could possibly imagine. It means we live in an oligarchy. Oligarchy. I think that's the right term. Essentially ruled by the rich. The rich get to decide absolutely everything. What TV shows get made, what films get made, what music gets made, what people get into, what people in politics can do, who's allowed to get into politics. And if I ever hear someone say to my face that they're talking about Angela Rayner or someone who grew up in a normal household, in a normal situation, not Lord of the Manor, and says they have ideas above their station, they'll be in trouble from me. I can tell you that now. Anyway, so that's all the things that I want to talk about today. I'm going to pop over to the headlines in a moment to talk about a few other things. I mean, the big thing is this absolutely horrific set of guidelines from Kemi Badenoch, who apparently is a qualities minister. And she's doing all her best to entrench inequality and bullying and, let's just face facts, murder and suicide. She's encouraging it. She's like the anti-Samaritans. She's there, dial. Imagine you can have a number on bridges. It says, are you feeling suicidal? That's a great thing, says Kemi Badenoch. She's got a thumbs up like this, and it gives you a number that you can call that says, go on. This is Britain in 2023. Hopefully it won't be Britain in 2024. Well, this time next year at least. But at the moment, that she wants to bring in new guidance, which is going to come in the spring, which is essentially an updated version of Clause 28, and says that, if a trans kid is getting bullied in school for being trans, the teachers can join in. You don't have to use their preferred pronouns. No, you don't have to do that. You can belittle them. You can make them feel invalidated. You just be horrible to them, basically. So I think that we should kick back. I think that we should not use the preferred pronouns for anyone in the public eye who's transphobic. So Kemi Badenoch is going to get a he from now on. I don't think that he wants that, but, it's up to me what I use, which pronouns I use when I'm talking about someone. So when I'm talking about Kemi Badenoch, from now on, I'm going to be using he and his. And, see how he likes it. And J.K. Rowling and that, what's his name, Linehan. Little Linehan, the little creep. I'll be using her for him. See how they bloody like it. Right, let's get into the chat. The Queen was a maniac, right? No, a mechanic. Did they teach us at private schools? She was a mechanic, yeah. Well, that was only because of the war. She learned how to fix up a Land Rover. She was the Queen a homeschool weirdo? Is she anti-vax and can she fire a gun? I really, really can't stress enough how much I disagree with homeschooling. I think it unless you're a qualified teacher, I'm going to upset someone in the chat, I'm sure. It's child abuse. Kids need to learn with their peers. And we learned this in lockdown when you're trying to teach your kid at home. And it's not that I was bad at it. I'm good with kids. But when you're trying to learn to read and everyone in the house can read except for you, it doesn't half undermine your, confidence in the matter. And so it's better for kids to be in a classroom full of kids who also can't read and are also learning around the same rate, and it improves and then also being sociable and getting out there and meeting people, because 99% of human life is interaction. It really is important to learn this kind of stuff. And unless you're qualified and you're happy for Ofsted inspectors to come to your house and check what you're doing, I don't think homeschooling should be allowed. And also, I don't think private schools should be allowed at all either. And I think we have to rethink what we do with grammar schools as well. So leave them out. But I really feel like the whole education system needs a good look at, because we need to be looking at not what's best for the parents, not what's best necessarily for the governors of the school, no, or the bank balances of the trustees, however that works, of these charities. No, I think that it should be the education system should be run in the best interest of children. So yeah, but bit off topic there. Penny Mordaunt sounds like Mr. Kipling's fancy cake. Not forgetting Bethel's missing messages. Indeed. This is Victorian values from Badenoch. They'll have kids up chimneys soon. Absolutely. Why not use it? Because it's belittling. It's horrible. It's not. It's really crap. It's really awful for people who, imagine there was a woman who worked at your place of work and she didn't look traditionally feminine, and the boss kept referring to her as him and making her cry, driving her to the point of self-harm. Would that be acceptable? Would that be no? It's the boss's right to belittle this woman based on her appearance, and basically be horrible in that way. I don't think it should be right. I don't think that it should be something that should be encouraged. But then this is the Tory party. They all went to private school. They all think bullying is the best thing since sliced bread because they were the bullies. If they weren't the bullies, they wouldn't have survived. They wouldn't have got to this far in life. Let's put it that way. Boris Johnson was a bully. He was a bully when he was at Eton. He was a bully when he was at Oxford. He was part of the Bullingdon Club, the clue's in the name, where they used to trash restaurants and laugh about it. They would burn £50 notes in front of homeless people. That's the kind of mentality of these people. And now they're in charge of the country. And will be until we yeet them out of office, hopefully in May next year. Everything a child needs to learn in the home Bible. That's a Jim Bob Robob. Yeah. They didn't speak to one trans person when drafting the guidance. That's from Rachel. That doesn't surprise me at all. Trauma flashbacks of being in school. Yeah, those were the days. Exactly. They don't want us to fix stuff, says Gary. Yeah. Angela says, I volunteer at my grandson's school, helping the little ones learn to read. So rewarding, and the kids are fabulous. Highly recommend. Yeah. If you've got the time to homeschool, volunteer. Go in and teach other kids, not just your own, but other kids as well, to learn to read. Satisfying. You ever taught a kid how to ride a bike? It's very satisfying. Anything different wasn't tolerated at my school. I hated 10 to 16. So Super Tiny. Yeah, don't be different. I've told this story before. My history and politics teacher in school once pulled me to one side because I submitted an essay, and in the essay I had written my A's with a little tail on top of the A, like it's printed rather than a written A. And he went, "What's that?" And I said, "That's an A." And he said, "Yeah, you done it all through here. Why are you doing your A's like that, lad?" And I said, "Well, because I like doing them like that. I think it looks nice." And he said, "Listen, Hughes, don't be different. You're not smart enough to be different." Stayed with me all my life. Anyway, Canal, thank you very much for the 20 Singaporean dollars. Yeet harder, yeet faster. Yes, we're yeeting. We're doing the yeet stuff now. Plum says, I went to school with arsonists and thieves. Taught me a lot about life. Indeed. Good news is the guidance may be illegal if schools follow it. I mean, what the hell? They actually made a bill, the Tories, called the Illegal Migration Bill, and it was an illegal bill. It should have been called the illegal. Anyway, let's have a look at the papers. Okay, should we have a quick look at the papers today? So here we have the Mirror, the middle of the Brit millionaire kidnapped in Ecuador, and also about Estevanson assisted dying. That's a whole episode that we could talk about. Definitely, I think that we should have it. I think that we should have euthanasia in this country. Obviously, with caveats, so you can't have situations where someone feels pressured into taking their life because or having their life taken, I guess, because it's assisted, in order to get them out of the way, so you get the money from the will, crack them open, and let the money flow. Obviously, there'll have to be safeguards in place, as there are with every other situation, and as they have in other countries where euthanasia is permitted. But I think people should be allowed to leave this mortal coil at home in the comfort of their home, surrounded by the loved ones, at a time that they decide it's time to go. I've said this before, and I will keep saying it until, probably the cows come home. The one thing that you own in this life, or at least you should own, is your own body. If you are a sane adult, what you do with your body, so long as it's not hurting anyone else, should be your basic birthright. If you want to get a tattoo on your face saying, fuck the system, okay, not a great look, but it's your face. Fine. If people want to take drugs, it's their body. As long as they're not making me take drugs or, polluting my air that I'm breathing because with their jazz cigarettes, turning into a granddad these days. I think that should be illegal. Should be legal because they're doing it to themselves as sane adults. And I also don't like the idea of criminal gangs making loads of money out of it, but that's another story. And then when it comes to abortion, it is your body. You can do with your body what you want to do with your body. It is your body. And although at a certain point in a pregnancy, you've obviously got to take the baby's rights into consideration. When the baby is not yet a baby, when it is still a fetus, when it's still the first 3 months of pregnancy, I don't see a problem. It's like, okay, you can have an abortion. And then, as it comes to the term, if there's a problem, I mean, it's horrible to talk about this, but if there is a problem and the baby's not going to survive anyway, how can a court say no? You have to give birth? Because that's not anti-abortion. That is forced birth. So that's like this idea that you have to tie women up and say, right, that's it. You got to give birth now. How about we have a law? Here's one where if you have sex with someone who you're not married to without a condom, you go to jail. How about that? Do you think men will be up for that? Do you think they'll say, oh, hang on, what about my bodily autonomy? Well, mate, sorry, you either gave this sexually transmitted disease to this other person or you got them pregnant. So you weren't married, off to jail for you, young man. That'll change things, wouldn't it? That'll shake things up a bit. But yeah, hopefully Esther Anson, she's got a big enough profile in order for this thing to become more talked about. And it's something that we should be talking about, because if and when you get to the point in your life where you're like, I don't want to go on anymore because you're in chronic pain and you're not going to get better, I want this. I want this for myself. And I if my loved ones want it as well, then fine. It's their choice. It should be their choice. It's their body. It's the one thing that the government shouldn't have a hold over you on. PM's battle cry. We've got to move on from high taxes, which is interesting because the Tories have been in charge for 13 years. We've got to move on from high taxes. It's the Express. Idiots. There's a story about Jay from the In-Betweeners. My monkey terror. It's the star. Oh my God. And then the Telegraph is leading with the story about the US drawing up plans to strike on Houthis. This is to do with the Houthi insurgency, which is funded by Iran over in Yemen, and they're attacking cargo ships. And the worry is that they'll fire a rocket at maybe one of the gas ships that come over from Qatar filled with gas, and it will cause an explosion like you would not believe. So they're trying to make it so that boats don't have to go all the way around Africa. We've got the elderly will bear brunt of strikes at Christmas. This is from the Murdoch Own Times. Obviously, with the England women goalkeeper, that's Mary Earps there, who won the Sports Personality of the Year, I think, last night. But yes, this idea that it's the strikers that are ruining Christmas, not the fact that the fuel bills are so high that a lot of elderly people can't put on their energy. They can't put on the heat in their house because their energy bills are too high because of the Tory government and mismanagement. And then, obviously, the Daily Heil, teaching children you can be born in the wrong body is harmful. No, bullying trans kids is harmful. I mean, just how sickening, how absolutely sickening is that? That this horrible, horrible woman, Bad Enoch, who's supposed to be the equalities czar. This is the woman who said that women getting special dispensation for the fact they're going through menopause, it will be a bit like giving people special dispensation for being ginger. Yeah, I don't have days when I'm crippled with so much pain that I can't get out of bed because I'm ginger. Do you know what I mean? How dare she? How absolutely dare she? Anyway, she's out on her ear in a few months' time, so that's good. Pressure on Israel as Gaza deaths nears 20,000, which is eye-watering, and just, oh God, it's just, the situation in Gaza is absolutely horrific, and it's like being forced to watch a car accident in slow motion, in super slow motion, that you can't do anything about. You're sitting there going, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening, and that you can't do anything to stop it. And the fact that world leaders are now thinking about asking for a ceasefire, about now, should we ask for a ceasefire now, is, it's a bit late, but better late than never, I think. MI6 security alert over flat owned by Russian neighbours. So the Russians causing trouble again. not like them. And then there's the ticking time bomb for paedophiles associates, Epstein friend named on January the 1st, which is what I talked about earlier in the show, because it does look like old dead old Jeffrey Epstein, who famously killed himself in jail. He didn't kill himself, I don't think. He managed to turn the security cameras off. Hey, can you knock those cameras off for a minute? I need to go to the loo. Don't want you seeing me go to the loo in me cell. Bad Enoch only uses the case of one person to deny treatment and demonize the community. Yeah, she's vile. She's absolutely vile. She is the worst. She's the worst person to have the job that she's got. I couldn't think of a worse, because you could say, well, what about Nigel Farage having the job of Equalities Minister? Yeah, but it would be easier for people to criticize him because he's a white man. When someone from an ethnic minority is saying these horrible, fascistic, mean, disgusting, bullying things, they kind of get away with it a bit more. We saw this with Priti Patel. We're seeing it with Suella Braverman and James Cleverly. They can get away with a bit more than Farage would, saying exactly the same things. People will call Farage out more on it. But the good news about this is it's probably illegal. And it's not coming in until spring, this guidance. And by May, hopefully the toys will be out. And we'll get new guidance in, hopefully as soon as possible. Don't forget, I grew up under Clause 28. So all the way through my secondary school, teachers were not allowed to talk about being gay in school. So if you're having feelings, feeling yourself attracted to men, or if you're a woman feeling attracted to women, you weren't allowed to talk about it to a teacher. And now they've made it so that if you confide in a teacher that you feel you may be trans, or maybe you've already come out as trans, the guidance is for them to tell your parents. If you haven't told your parents, there's probably a good reason why you haven't told your parents. It's hard enough for young people coming out of the closet still today for being homosexual, for being lesbian, for being bisexual. There's still a irregarded category of sexuality, unfortunately. But now they're saying, so if your parents are likely to react negatively to this news, the people that you have to share your life with, the people whose house that you stay in, the people who have literal control over you, you've got nowhere else to go, they have to be told. These people who have this hold over you, and that is horrible. It's sickening, because there are so many cases, and I've said this before, and I probably won't make any friends saying it again, but there's a few jobs in life that you don't need any qualifications for. There's a few. Fruit picker's not one of them. You know, the fruit pickers is pretty difficult. You need to be good at fruit picking. Being a taxi driver, you got to learn how to drive a cab. Being a hairdresser, you got to learn how to cut hair. There's 3 jobs I can think of on the top of my head where you can turn up with no qualifications whatsoever and still do the job. One of them is being a prostitute. Another one is being a politician. And the third one is being a parent. And the idea that just because you did a bit of horizontal jogging one Christmas Eve, one year, you get to have this kind of power over another human being and their life and their future is, I mean, there's no other way that we can really realistically do it, because we can't give people parenting exams before they have sex. But just because they have produced a sex trophy does not mean, sorry, that's really mean. Crotch nugget. No, womb goblin. No, child. I'll use the word child. Just because they've managed to breed doesn't make their judgment in any given situation absolutely sacrosanct. So when it comes to being a good parent, being a parent isn't enough to qualify you as being a good parent. And I'm not saying that we should have social workers knocking on everyone's door and making sure that you're doing the best for your kids, because everyone's just making it up as they go along. But the fact remains that if your child is queer or they are trans and they don't want to tell you, that's not a problem with the child. That's a problem with you as the parent, because they don't want to tell you. Why would they not want to tell you? Why would they not want to share that with you? Because they fear the way you would react. And that's bad parenting. It just is. It's being a bad parent. So essentially what Kimmy Badenoch has done here is she has brought forward a bad parents charter to empower bad parents out there. Because if they're good parents, the school won't need to inform them, because they'll already know. Right, okay, the 3 Ps. There's other jobs that you don't need any qualifications for, but they're the top 3 off the top of my head. Clunge clanger. My father was, in his own words, a bit bomb happy. Oh my God. What you mean is womb parasite, says Lucy. Jesus Christ. We're having fun here. We're having fun. Come on. Just come on. Give us a break. It's nearly Christmas. Mike says, I'm gay and worked as a residential social worker in Belfast from 96 to 07. During my time, I gave out advice assistance to confused LGBTQ plus kids and thought, to hell with Section 28. No action was ever taken against me. Good. But it empowered bad teachers. It empowered teachers that didn't agree with people being gay. And they use terms like the gay lifestyle. And it's like, no, it is literally... Again, going back to what I was saying earlier about your body being your own thing that you can do whatever you like with. And as long as it's not hurting anybody. So if 2 men are in love, fantastic. If 3 men are all in love with it, brilliant. Bring it on. If 2 women, what does it matter? If you don't agree with gay marriage, don't marry a man. Simple as that. It's individualistic rights that should be inalienable. But for some reason, they're not. Because the people in charge want to keep that chokehold on people who are marginalized by society. So, lots to go through today. So, Moan, Bone, Trump, Epstein, Kate, Penny Mordaunt, and this new advice for Let's just call it what it is, the Bad Parents Charter. Things change a bit when you have your own kids, says Super Tiny 808. They do indeed. They do indeed. Those that seem fearful, seem terrified, they may get a choice. Sad. We did have Sure Start, which did teach parents things. Yeah, John. One of the worst, if not the worst things that the Tories did was to take away the Sure Start scheme, which was a great initiative of New Labour. So let's get that back, hopefully, bloody soon. Bloody moan, says Duke. A lot of ground covered. So thanks very much for joining us today. No PMQs today. Parliament has risen for recess for the Christmas holidays. Because it's school. But that doesn't stop us here at Labour Social. Hopefully there'll be a few more videos going up today about what's going on in the news. A bit more on the Michelle Mone situation. And tomorrow at 9:30, we'll be having another morning brew, this time with Phil Morehouse, where he'll be covering whatever else has been going on in the next 24 hours, let's say. It should be interesting. I don't know if half an hour is enough time to get through all this stuff, but we've way gone over time. If you would like to join me listening to James O'Brien on LBC, I'll be heading over there straight from this broadcast. So if you want to join me over there, if you go to the Discord server, if you are a YouTube member, or if you are a Patreon, you should have the link to go to the Discord server. And hopefully in the new year, we will be doing more for the members and for the patrons, including games nights. So please look out for that. In the meantime, if I don't see you before, Merry Christmas. But I'm sure a lot of you will be back before Christmas. But until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Thanks for the chat. And hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.